Hey everybody, it's Alex from Hannemann and Ironworks here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to put a wood handle on one of your store-bought hammers, or just how to replace a handle in general. These hammers I have, they're got a rubberized grip, and they just wear out my hands, and so I really need a better handle for my hammers. And so I'm going to show you guys how to do the same thing too. So here are my selection of hammers and selection of handles. You can see here I have my blanks and then I have my two actual hammers. For the video I'm just going to do one of them, but I just make my own blanks at my school. You can see, a nice relatively straight grain for it, so it shouldn't break. You can buy them from the store. You can do whatever you want. You can make your own like I did. But the first step is to cut the head off the handle. And I have to be cutting it off like right about here. And then I'm going to be knocking all this epoxy and garbage out of the eye. And so I'm left with an open hole to put my new handle in. Alright, so now I have my hammer locked up in the vise. I'm just going to be using, a regular run-of-the-mill wood cutting handsaw. Otherwise, you can use an angle grinder. Or something, that can get the job done. I'm just using a handsaw because it's the easiest, at least for me. I'm basically putting it pretty close to the side of the hammer and just go to town until you cut through it. As you can see here, I have the top off the hammer. It had a really interesting design in it. I'm not sure what this white stuff is, but I don't really care. This just goes right in the trash because I don't ever want to see it again. And then the next step is to get this that runs all the way through the the side of the hammer to get it out. It's part of the old handle, as you can see where that pattern lines up with the other one. I'll show you how I'm going to do it in just a second. Alright, as you can see here, I have the top of the hammer facing up, and then I just have a drill with a relatively small metal cutting drill bit. I'm not sure if you need metal cutting or not, but that's what I have, and I think it's a safer bet because this stuff should be really dense and it'll cut through it easier because I think it's carbide. I'm just going to put as many holes in it. I'm going to go around the outside. As you guys can see here, I've drilled all the way around the thing, but my bits actually aren't long enough to poke through the other side. So I'm going to have to flip this over, and then I'm going to do another ring around it. I'm pretty sure I got most of the way through, so it's pretty darn close. Alright, as you can see here, I have the center knocked out. This was what was left. You can see all the, groove marks from that drill going in, and you can definitely tell that it wasn't perfectly around the outsides because there are little channels running down, but there's not much you can do to fix that right away. But I did use a punch just to kind of knock off some of those extra little bits. This is just a cheapo, I think it was like maybe like $3 or $4 for a pack of like 5 from Walmart. Not too bad, but to clean out the inside completely, I'm gonna use a little Dremel tool. You guys at home, if you have a Dremel, use a Dremel. It's probably gonna be your best bet. Otherwise, you can just use some good old sandpaper, or if you have like a rounded file, you can just file out the insides to get it smooth and to make sure that when you put a hammer in, that little epoxy crap won't actually make your handle loose. So you want to make sure you get all of that out there. It is a process, but that's kind of what you signed up for if you want to replace a handle. If you did start with a wood handle, you shouldn't have any of this excess stuff because the wood will come right out and the wood didn't bond to the metal like the epoxy did. Alright, so my Dremel tool just has one of these little sanding circles on it. They just slip on. In my opinion, this is about the best darn thing to, do this job. I've done probably 6 or so handles with these little tools, and I think they're simply wonderful. So I'm gonna get back to work getting the insides clear. Alright guys, so now I have this inside completely smooth and without that kind of cruddy texture in there. You can definitely see that the inside of this was actually a soft mild steel, and the bit actually bit into it. Doesn't concern me because it'll be completely fine. The wood will just fill it out when you drive a wedge in there. But when you are dremeling out or using that kind of a high-powered sander, make sure to use a respirator or some sort of mask for protecting your lungs, because if you just breathe this stuff in a not ventilated area like where I am, I'm in a closed garage with no venting. Respirators definitely come in helpful, especially if you're grinding metal, but this plasticky kind of stuff gets in the air and you don't want to breathe that stuff. So I've gone ahead and I used my shop vac and I cleaned up almost all the plastic, so it's no longer in the air and I have no longer concerns with that getting into my lungs. Alright, so now that that's all cleaned up, I grabbed my handle. This is the piece I picked out. I have this line marked from before. My brother actually just kind of walked in and started talking, so I'm just retaking this quick. But I'm basically lined up this about 1/2 inch here, so when it actually sits on it, you'll have this much extra that you'll just take a quick hacksaw, cut it off, and you'll be good. I was explaining about how you want to line up your eyes. You just want to make sure your eye is centered on your physical handle, and so you can just kind of see where the eye is. You want to make sure it's lined up pretty good. As you can see, that this pencil sits not enough material over here, so I want to shift it over ever so slightly, and so it lines up. There's a little bit of material of handle, and now there's too much, and so I'm just going to basically do this until I get this eye perfectly lined up with my handle. Then I'm just going to make 2 quick marks where the eye lines up, and so I'm just cut a little bit on the outside of it, and I'll come back when I have that all cut out. Alright, as you can see, I have cut this down. I use an angle grinder just to make a guideline down this side, and I just took my trusty handsaw and I cut the remaining, probably 3/4, well, no, probably more like 1/2 inch, because this is 3/4. I didn't cut too deep, it was just more of a guideline, so I'd cut them pretty accurately. You can see where I have just kind of the remaining left, or you can see where I made the lines. But then this hammer is really close to fitting. So I'm actually going to take a really sharpened pencil, really pointy, and just scribe on the inside around it so I have a rough guide, and then I'm just going to kind of carve it out. You can use a knife, you can use a draw knife, you could do whatever you please. Something a bit faster is an angle grinder. I'm using an angle grinder because I have one. They're like $20 for the cheap ones. I just have a really cheap Ryobi one. I've definitely got my money's worth out of it. So if you don't have an angle grinder, I suggest getting one. But if you don't want to, you can use knife, draw knife. If you have like a belt sander, use a belt sander. That's probably better than angle grinder. But basically, you want to get this hammer to seat down on the handle, and you want a little bit sticking up, and you need to be able to take this back off. I'm gonna get this handle about perfect where I can just seat the hammer on it. I'll be back with you when that's done. As you can see here, I have this all scribed out. I sharpened the pencil to be really sharp, and it did like a charm. So that circle matches the one on the inside of the hammer. I'm just going to take an angle grinder, just go to town on these corners, and make this hammer fit. Alright, so I have the little piece roughed out. Oh, yeah, it's not coming off easily. Just kind of lightly tap it off. You can see here, it leaves marks where, you know, it fits, and it's kind of darkened. But then you can see where it doesn't fit, so you just, you know, keep grinding away or whittling away at where it's bigger. But you can see physically there's like a little ridge here, and so I need to work on this a little bit. But there's no ridge here, so this piece is fine. I'm going to get back with you when I have this fitting on perfectly. Alright guys, I've got the handle fitting perfectly to the head. I just pulled the head off the handle for now. You can see this pencil line. I'm just going to take a hacksaw and I'm going to cut down, I don't know, probably about 3/4 of the way into the head. I didn't actually mark it, but the head ends about right where the tip of my finger is. So I'm going to cut to right about where that black piece ends. And then I have just this little wooden wedge. I'm going to put that in the top of the handle to expand the head this way. I'm going to take metal ones and I'm going to put them in diagonally. Probably just going to do one. But I'll get back with you when I have this cut and I have the head back on. I'm putting the wedge in. I just finished cutting this notch right here. And then I did take a drill, slightly bigger than the size of the blade, and I drilled at the bottom here, and it goes out to the back side. So when you put a wedge in here, and it opens up the top, and it doesn't actually open out the bottom, and so it doesn't split down the handle. I also did do a quick glue up job with some premium wood glue. It's water resistant and it's meant for exterior, which is where my hammers will be. So I just glued up on this side and the back side to just kind of seal the wood, so if it does split, it shouldn't split, but if it has a chance of splitting, it should help negate that. So now I'm going to put the hammer head back on. I'll get back with you when I have that done. Alright, now I have the head back on. You can see this cut here is right where I cut it. Basically, I'm going to put this wedge right here. I'm going to glue up the sides of it, and I'm going to pound this down into the wood. And I'll get back to you when I have that done. Alright, now you can see that the wood for the handle is actually filled out to the sides here, as it should. That was the design of the wedge. And unfortunately, the wedge did split, but it doesn't actually affect it because it's all glued up in there. And so this piece of the wedge shouldn't come back out as long as you have it glued in. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to let the glue dry. And then I'll come back with a hacksaw and I'll cut this piece off so it lays flat with the rest of the hammer. And I'll be back with you when I have a metal wedge. I'd have to run to the store to go get one, or I have to find a scrap of metal to make one, but I don't have one just sitting around. So I'll get back to you when I have a wedge. Alright guys, I've let the glue all dry up. It's probably been, I don't know, 2 hours. I just took a break for dinner and whatnot. But I did run out to my local hardware store and got 2 little hammer wedge packs. Comes with one big wood wedge and 2 little small ones. It's meant for a big sledgehammer. And that's what's got 2 of these. Because, I don't know, just more strength. I'm just going to put one of them into this hammer and another into another hammer. And I'm going to save this other pack for some other time. And that totally missed. But I'm just going to drive this one in here. I'll get back with you when I have that done. Alright guys, I've sanded the entire thing down and got the handle fitting nice. I put the metal wedge in the top. Just kind of wedge it a little more sideways to push this material that way and this way, just so it fit nicer. Yeah, you can usually see them going a little bit more diagonal, so it hopefully doesn't ruin the grain or hurt the top as much, but I don't think it will. Should be fine. It's a very nice sturdy handle. I got sanded down. Unfortunately right here the leather wasn't thick enough to protect my handle from the vise, and so on both sides it got a little bit of a mar, but I honestly don't really mind that much. It's just for me, it's not for a customer or anything. But yeah, so it's looking good right now. Just gonna add some minwax polyurethane semi-clear gloss to protect the handle. I'm also gonna put it on the top. Some smiths really like burning their handles or burning a pattern into the handles, like maybe some stripes or whatever. But my propane torch is dead and I don't want to light the forge up tonight. So I'm going to just settle with using a clear coat. I'll get back to you when I have that done. Oh, and look how messy my workbench got just from doing one simple handle. It's the problem of having a bunch of tools. Anyway, I'll get back to you when I'm done. Alright guys, here's the finished product. So you can see the two hammer heads on the two handles. They both fit pretty well. As you can see up here, I did putty, there was a little bit of a crack, and I put some sawdust on it just to kind of protect it. Even if I didn't do that, I think this hammer would be perfectly fine. Other than that, I mean, look at this pattern on this hammer. It looks beautiful. But as you can see, the grain runs straight all the way through. This one's pretty damn perfect. And this one's pretty good. I don't really like how skinny it is because my hands are a little bit bigger, but it's not too bad. Especially down here where it's a bit fatter, so my hands can grip it better. But there you go. So you put new handles on your hammers, and start to finish, this one probably took me like 45 minutes, an hour. Just doing the video on it took me quite a while. It probably took like 30 minutes of some explaining. This one probably took hour and a half to 2. I also had to run to the store, so I didn't really have much to do today. So I just kind of, spent my time working on these hammers. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching my video on how to rehandle a hammer. I had a lot of fun doing this, and this hammer fits my hand pretty perfectly, so I'm very excited to go forging with it. I think you guys should give it a try if you're using kind of the cruddy store-bought hammer handles, because they just don't work right. Try making your own, have some fun, get out to your shop. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. I see about 30% of the people that are watching my videos aren't actually subscribed, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Help me hit to 100 subscribers or even higher. The 100 subscriber giveaway will be a railroad spike, be a twisted railroad spike bottle opener. Kind of your railroad typical spike. Not sure what kind of twist. We'll see. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. See you later.